ANZAC Day 2020 is one that we are going to remember. This year, we as a country and as a global community face a new and frightening challenge. Despite this, we are grateful to have found a way to come together to reflect on the sacrifices made by our service people, past and present, to protect the quality of life we enjoy. At the same time, we look to the future that is free from conflict and the horrors of war. Thank you for joining us today for our ANZAC service on the Cocos Keeling Islands. Today is a day for all Australians, Indigenous Australians, descendants of pioneers and settlers, those who've been here for generations, and for new Australians. ANZAC Day binds and unites us as a nation. On this remote and beautiful coral atoll, the presence of the Royal Australian Air Force and the military heritage of which we're all so proud means that ANZAC Day holds a special significance. Our program today includes the ANZAC Address by Sergeant Matthew Boardman, poetry reading by Sophia's Eindel and Zamani Charlie, and music performed by Trevor Hegarty. David Williams, the AFP officer in charge, will read the ode. We will also have a 2-minute silence followed by the flag raising. It is now my pleasure to invite Sergeant Matthew Boardman to give the 2020 ANZAC Address.
Good morning to the Cocos Keeling and wider community, and thank you for taking the time to tune into this socially distanced commemoration of ANZAC Day. I'm Sergeant Matthew Boardman of the Royal Australian Air Force, located here on West Island, and I would like to start by saying that I am deeply humbled and honoured to be asked to address the community for ANZAC Day 2020. The Australian and New Zealand Army Corps were formed in December 1914 during the First World War and were made up of troops mostly from the 1st Australian Imperial and 1st New Zealand Expeditionary Forces. On this fateful morning in 1915, a force of almost 25,000 ANZACs began landing in what is now known as ANZAC Cove on the Gallipoli Peninsula, with a mission to advance inland and cut the lines of communication to the Ottoman forces in the south. Due to unforeseen tidal effects, they unfortunately did not land in the planned location and now, in order to achieve their objective, faced a steep uphill battle against Ottoman forces. By the end of this day, only 1 kilometre of ground had been gained, and the lives of approximately 2,000 Australian and New Zealand troops had been lost. In the coming months, the ANZACs fought a losing battle alongside their allies, until in early December of that year, an evacuation was ordered, by which time ANZAC forces had suffered over 10,000 casualties. Although the battle was ultimately lost, the fighting spirit of the ANZACs during the campaign bequeathed an intangible but powerful legacy, and the ANZAC legend became synonymous with camaraderie, determination, and the Aussie spirit. Since this first landing and the end of the campaign, Australia has celebrated the ANZACs in many forms, with a National Day of Commemoration first being established in 1920. After the Second World War, the day was expanded to pay tribute to all those who have lost their lives in service of their country, and today continues to be viewed as a day of reflection on the cost of war, celebration of those who serve, and commemoration of those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. It is continuing to witness the aforementioned values instilled by the ANZACs that makes me honoured to serve today. In the trying times of this current pandemic, I see a small but determined community constantly supporting and looking out for each other whilst dealing with ever-evolving restrictions. Although my wife Caitlin and I have only been here a short time, it is this sense of community that makes us proud to call Cocos home. ANZAC Day is not a day for honouring war, for it is not something to be honoured. War is a last resort utilised to safeguard a nation's sovereignty when diplomacy has failed. We do, however, on ANZAC Day, honour the people of Australia who have undertaken warfare to protect that sovereignty. I personally have completed 3 tours of active service in my career and have experienced firsthand the unique challenges and strain this separation can put on a person and their family. I can't begin to imagine the additional stresses these families are feeling considering the current state of affairs. So on days like today, my thoughts are with my deployed fellow servicemen away from friends, family, loved ones, sons and daughters, missing births, birthdays, anniversaries, weddings and funerals, keeping Australia and her interests safe and affording us the freedoms we continue to enjoy. I would like to ask you to do the same today, to take a moment to reflect on what ANZAC Day means to you and give thanks to those who have served and continue to do so despite the sacrifices they have made. Lest we forget.
The ANZAC Day march was over. The old digger had done his best. His body ached from marching. It was time to sit and rest. He made his way to a park bench and sat with lowered head. A young boy passing saw him, approached and politely said, "Please, sir, do you mind if I ask you what the medals you wear are for? Did you get them for being a hero when fighting in a war?" Startled, the old digger moved over and beckoned the boy to sit. Eagerly, the lad accepted. He had not expected this. "First of all, I was not a hero," said the old digger in solemn tone, "but I served with many heroes, the ones that never came home. So when you talk of heroes, it's important to understand the greatest of all heroes gave their lives defending this land. The medals are worn in their honor as a symbol of respect. Old diggers wear them on ANZAC Day. It shows they don't forget." The old digger then climbed to his feet and asked the boy to stand. Carefully, he removed the medals and placed them in his hand. He told him he could keep them to treasure throughout his life, a legacy of a kind left behind, paid for in sacrifice. Overwhelmed, the young boy was speechless. He couldn't find words to say. It was there the old digger left him, going quietly on his way. In the distance, the young boy glimpsed him, saw him turn and wave goodbye. Saddened, he sat alone on the bench. Tears welled in his eyes. He never again saw him ever, but still remembers with pride when the old digger told him of heroes and the young boy sat and cried.
I saw a kid marching with medals on his chest. He marched alongside diggers marching six abreast. He knew that it was ANZAC Day. He walked along with pride. He did his best to keep in step with the diggers by his side. And when the march was over, the kid was rather tired. A digger said, "Whose medals, son?" To which the kid replied, "They belong to my daddy." But he did not come back. He died up in New Guinea on a lonely jungle trek. The kid looked rather sad then, and a tear came to his eye. The digger said, "Don't cry, my son, and I will tell you why. Your daddy marched with us today, all the blooming way. We diggers know that he was there. It's like that on ANZAC Day." The kid looked rather puzzled and didn't understand, but the digger went on talking and started to wave his hand. "For this great land we live in, there's a price we have to pay, for we all love fun and merriment in this country where we live. The price was that some soldier his precious life must give. For you to go to school, my lad, and worship God at will, someone had to pay the price, so the diggers had to pay the bill. Your daddy died for us, my son, for all things good and true. I wonder if you understand the things I've said to you." The kid looked up at the digger just for a little while, and with a changed expression said with a lovely smile, "I know my dad marched here today. This is ANZAC Day. I know he did. I know he did, all the blooming way."
Now when I was a young man, I carried me back, and I lived the free life of a rover. From the Murray's green basin to the dusty outback, well, I waltzed my Matilda all over. Then in 1915, my country said, "Son, It's time you stopped rambling, there's work to be done. So they gave me a tin hat and they gave me a gun, and they marched me away to the war. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as our ship pulled away from the quay. And amidst all the cheers, flag waving and tears, we sailed for Gallipoli. How well I remember that terrible day, how our blood stained the sand and the water, and how in that hell that they called Silver Bay, we were butchered like lambs at the slaughter. Johnny Turkey was waiting, he primed himself well. He showered us with bullets, and he rained us with shell. And in 5 minutes flat, he'd blown us all to hell. Nearly blew us back home to Australia. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as we stopped to bury our slain. We buried ours, the Turks buried theirs, and it started all over again. And those that were left, well, we tried to survive in that mad world of blood, death and fire. And for 10 weary weeks I kept myself alive, although around me the corpses piled higher. Then a big Turkish shell knocked me ass overhead, and when I awoke in me hospital bed, and saw what it had done, well, I wished I was dead. Never knew there was worse things than dying, for I'll go no more waltzing Matilda, all around the green bush far and free. To hump tent and pegs, a man needs both legs. No more waltzing Matilda for me. So they gathered the crippled, the wounded, the maimed, and they shipped us back home to Australia. The legless, the armless, the blind, the insane, those proud wounded heroes of Suvla. And as our ship pulled into Circular Quay, I looked at the place where me legs used to be, and thank Christ there was nobody waiting for me to grieve, to mourn, and to pity. But the band played Waltzing Matilda as they carried us down the gangway. But nobody cheered, they just stood there and stared. Then they turned all their faces away. So now, every April I sit on my porch and I watch the parade pass before me. I see my old comrades, how proudly they march, reviving old dreams of past glories. And the old men march slowly, old bones stiff and sore, tired old heroes from a forgotten war. And the young people ask, what are they marching for? And I ask myself the same question. But the band played Waltzing Matilda, and the old men still answer the call. But as year follows year, more old men disappear. Someday no one will march there at all. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me? and their ghosts may be heard as they pass by that billabong. Who come a-waltzing Matilda with me?
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Please be upstanding.
Australians all, let us rejoice, for we are young and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds shines in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair. Beneath our raging Southern Cross, we'll toil with hearts and hands to make this Commonwealth of ours renowned of all the lands. For those who've come across the seas, with boundless plains to share, with courage let us all combine to advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Thank you to everyone who has contributed to our dawn service to commemorate the most special day for Australians. Organisations or members of the community wishing to lay a wreath are welcome to do so throughout the day here at the memorial, lest we forget. We invite those who can to now take part in the community breakfast with a difference. Please go to somewhere on your property where, from a safe social distance, you can see your neighbours, have your morning coffee or breakfast, and take part in some community camaraderie. Shire staff will be driving around to take photos of breakfast camps and to hand out a small surprise gift to each household. Thank you and good morning.